In this video, I will show you how to do an SEO audit for you or your client's website using my 17-point SEO audit checklist. Hello, and welcome to SEO Frank's YouTube channel, where you will get free SEO templates, guides, and tips. If you want to get updates, go ahead and subscribe to my channel. Conducting regular SEO audits for you or your client's website is essential for maintaining and improving its performance in organic search. Google's ranking algorithm uses over 200 ranking factors, which makes it hard to know what you should be focusing on in order to actually see some results. Using my 17-point SEO audit checklist, I will show you how to conduct an SEO audit and what technical on-page and off-page elements you should focus on. Stick around until the end of the video to get access to the free checklist in Google Sheets and Excel formats. We've got a lot to cover, so let's get started. So the first and most important step in the SEO audit checklist is to do an index coverage check. So that's just making sure that all the important pages on your site have actually been indexed by Google. If a page on your site hasn't been indexed by Google, it has no chance of ranking. So that's what makes this step extremely important, and all the other items in this checklist depend upon this. So in order to do this, the easiest way is to do a site search function. So to do this for your site, you're going to type in site:yourdomain.com. So for example, for my site, I would go site SEO-frank.com, Google that. And then it's going to show you all the pages that are currently indexed by Google. So take a look at the list and make sure all your important pages are actually indexed by Google. Now, a better and more accurate way of doing this is to use Google Search Console. So open up Google Search Console, go to your property, click on the coverage tab, and then the coverage report is going to show you all your valid and excluded pages from Google's index. So make sure to click all these check boxes and the graph will update. Scroll down to the details section and it'll break down what pages or groups of pages are excluded from being indexed on your site, as well as the pages that are currently valid and indexed on your site. So if you want to see all the pages that are successfully indexed, I would just uncheck all the other boxes. You can scroll down to the details section, and then these are the groups of pages that are successfully submitted and indexed. And then there's also a grouping that's indexed that has not been submitted in the sitemap. So you can go through, click on this, and see the pages that are successfully indexed by Google, and then you can compare that to the pages you know of or the pages in your contact management system, and make sure that you have all your important pages indexed by Google. The second step is to do an XML Sitemap check and make sure that you have one submitted to Google. So to do this, open your Google Search Console property, go to the Sitemaps tab, click on that, and then here you'll see the sitemaps that are currently submitted for your site. So here you can see that I have my sitemap successfully submitted, and it's been read by Google along with the dates, and there's a success status here along with 11 discovered pages. So you're going to want to do that for your site and make sure that you have the same thing, that you have a sitemap that's an XML file that has been successfully submitted, and that the last read date is something that's somewhat recent. If not, you're going to want to go to add a new sitemap, enter your sitemap URL into this box, and then click submit. If you're not sure where the location of your XML sitemap is, what I would suggest is try typing your domain name and then /sitemap.xml after it. Chances are, and depending on your content management system, that's probably where your XML sitemap lives. That's where mine lives. If not, you can use the SEO Quake browser extension to do this. I will drop a link to that browser extension in the description below this video. As you can see, that's where my sitemap lives. So seofrank.com/sitemap.xml. The third item in the SEO audit checklist is to check for any blocked pages. So the first sub-step in this step is to check your robots text file. So to do that, type in your domain name and then /robots.txt after that. So for example, for my site, my robots text lives at the following location. So seofrank.com/robots.txt. As you can see, this is my robots text file, and this just issues instructions to crawlers such as Google as to what pages they are and aren't allowed to crawl on your site. So as you can see on my site, I'm disallowing them from crawling the WordPress /admin page. So I'm just not letting them crawl the admin pages, which don't provide any value for a search engine. And this is pretty typical for a WordPress site. But the main thing here is you just want to make sure you don't have any pages on your site that are important under this disallow directive, because that essentially means that it's being blocked from being crawled and Google won't be able to access or index these pages. The next sub-step is to do a meta robots tag check. So these are directives that may be on your pages that are telling Google not to index a certain page. So to check for this, go to Google Search Console, go to the coverage tab, click on excluded, scroll down, and then under the details section, you may have a category that comes up that says excluded by no index tag. I have a couple of these on my site. Click on that, scroll down, and then look at the pages. Make sure that there are no important pages on your site that have this no index tag on them, because that's essentially is telling Google, do not index this page. Obviously, here I have some that have the no index tag on them, which is fine. Most of these are just XML pages or feed pages, which is pretty standard to have a no index tag on them, but just make sure that you don't have any important pages on your site that are in this section that have a no index tag on them. The third sub-step is to check for internal duplicate content. So the first thing that you should do is make sure all your domain names resolve to one canonical domain name. So what I mean by this is, the example of my website, if I go seofrank.com, it resolves to the HTTPS version. If I go www.seofrank.com, it also resolves to the same version, the HTTPS with no www at the front. Also make sure that the non-secured versions, so HTTP, resolve to the secured versions. And in the case of my website, they all do that. Now, a great free tool to find internal duplicate content on your website is SiteLiner. So if you just head over to siteliner.com, I will drop a link to this in the description below the video. Enter your website, click go, and what it'll do is it'll do a crawl of your website. After the crawl is done, click on duplicate content on the left-hand menu, and this will show you all the duplicate content on your site. It'll give you the match words, match percentage, how many pages match this, and you can actually go through and click on a specific page and it'll show you what content is actually duplicated. Now, don't worry, like a lot of these have low match percentages or should have low match percentages, that's good. This just is probably the headers and the footers on my website, so that's okay. But if you have any that are, you know, high, like 60 or 70% match percentage, you should definitely look at these and make sure that you resolve some of this duplicate content on your website. The fourth item is to do an internal linking check. This is very important because your site should connect all its important pages through internal linking. So this can be done through your main navigation menu in your website's header, a navigation menu in your website's footer, through contextual anchor text throughout your site. So that's when you link to a page in the body text of your website. So in order to do this, you can use Google Search Console to check for internal links on your site. So scroll down, go to the Links tab, and then if you click on Internal Links, or if you go to the Internal Links column, it'll show you your top linked pages on your website. Click More, and then this will show you the top internally linked pages on your website. You can also export all these links as a Google Sheets or Excel file if you click on Export. That can help you see these all better. But really what you want to do with this list is make sure that the pages that are internally linked to the most are your most important web pages. This is telling Google that these are the most important pages, as well as it helps funnel your users to these pages more often. So just go through the list and make sure that you don't have a lot of non-important pages on your site that have lots and lots of internal links pointing to them. You really want to have your home page or your most important blog posts or service or product pages internally linked to the most in most cases. The fifth item is to check for broken links on your website. So broken links aren't good. They're sometimes referred to as 404 pages. They're bad for your site's user experience. Think about the last time you went to a website, you enter the URL or you click on something and you get a 404 error on the page. Page cannot be found. That's really annoying to your users. As well, if the page or the link is 404'd or broken for more than a couple days, depending obviously, Google may drop that page out of its index. So you want to make sure that any important pages on your website are not broken links. So to check for broken links, you can use the Screaming Frog web crawler. So what it'll do is it'll crawl your website. This is free for 500 URLs. So if your site is smaller than 500 URLs, you can use this to crawl your site for free. I'll drop a link in the description below the video for how you can access and sign up for Screaming Frog. So what you want to do is enter your website into the top bar and then click Start, and the tool will crawl your website. Once the crawl is done, you want to click on Response Codes on the top window tab. Then in the filter, go to Client Errors or 400 errors. And as you can see on my site, there are no broken links, so that's a good thing. But you want to, if you have any URLs or pages that are that have client errors or 400 errors, they will be listed here. And then you want to make sure you either redirect those pages, fix the pages so they're not broken, or if the page is irrelevant, just make sure you remove that link from your website. You also want to check for any server-side errors. So these are pages that come up with statuses of 500. So once again, go to the filter, click on server error. Once again, my site has none of these, which is good. Make sure that your site has none of these as well. If you do have any and these keep persisting, then you may have to contact your host provider to figure out why they are returning these server errors. The sixth item is to check for redirects on your website. So redirects are used to divert users and search engines from one page to another. So for example, think of when you click on a link, and I guess you don't actually see it on the back end when you, as a user, click on the link and it goes to another page. But like I said in the previous step, for broken links, a lot of times if you have a page that is no longer relevant, you will redirect the user and the search engine to another page. So to check for this, use Screaming Frog as well. Once the crawl is done, go to the response codes tab, then go to the redirection or 300 status page filter, and this window will show all the pages on your site that are currently being redirected. If you look at this window and scroll over a bit, you will see what the status code is. So a 301 redirect is a permanent redirect. A 302 redirect is a temporary one. In most cases, you want to be using 301 redirects, especially if they're permanent, because it tells search engines that this is a permanent redirect and it passes all your page authority to the redirected or the final destination page. So what you want to do is just go through the list and make sure all the pages that are being redirected should in fact be redirected. You also want to check for redirect chains or redirect loops. So to do this, click on Reports in the top navigation menu, then Redirects, then click on Redirect Chains. And then this is a report that you can export as a Google Sheet file or as an Excel workbook. And what you want to do is export that. If there's any redirect chains or loops, it will show you in the Google Sheet or Excel file, and these are bad for various reasons. Redirect chains, if you're redirecting from page A to page B, but you go through another page, so you do multiple redirects to get to a certain page, that's not good. It's better just to redirect the user or the search engine from the first page to the final page. The chains will slow down the response time of the page, and it may confuse or cause issues for search engines. And then redirect loops are when the redirect is essentially continuous. You redirect a user or search engine from page A to B, B to C, and then C goes back to A. So it's just a continuous loop, which is not good. That causes a lot of issues for search engines when they're trying to access your pages. The seventh item is to check your site's architecture. So this refers to how your site's pages are structured and organized. And this is really important. You want to have a consistent and easy to understand structure. This helps both your users and your search engines, especially if your site has a lot of pages. So depending on what your site is, there's various types of site architectures you could have. For example, you could have a flat site architecture where you have your home page that links down to all your other pages. So it's very flat and easy to access every page. You could have more of a siloed site architecture where you have your home page that link down to pillar pages, and then these pillar pages link down to support pages based on themes. You could also have a pyramid site architecture, which is more common for like an e-commerce site, where you have a home page linking down to category pages, and then those category pages link down to subcategory or product pages. So if you're not exactly sure what the architecture of your website is like, you can use Screaming Frog as well. So once you crawl your site, go to Visualizations on the top menu. And then you want to use either the directory tree graph or the force directed directory tree diagram. So click on either one of these, and what it'll do is it'll show you a visual of your site and how it's structured. So here you can see that my home page and all the various other pages that it's linked to. If you go back and click on the force-directed directory tree diagram, this will also show you another way to visualize how your home page is linked to all your other pages. So spend some time going through the two and just really make sure you understand and that your site architecture makes sense. Make sure it makes sense for your users and lets them to easily access all your pages from your home page. You just want to make sure it's consistent and easy to follow. If you can't understand it, there's no way a user is going to understand it, and that's really the most important part here. The 8th item is to check the page experience of your website. So a lot of you may have heard in the last year or two the big push for everybody to get their core web vitals up to speed, as Google was adding this as a new ranking factor in their algorithm for both desktop and mobile pages. This currently is the case. Google has implemented the core web vitals as a ranking factor for both your mobile and desktop pages. I'm not going to talk about these too much, but really your page experience checks are checking for your core web vitals, mobile friendliness, the use of HTTPS or a secured version, or intrusive interstitials. So the first check to check your core web vitals, go to your Google Search Console properties, scroll down, go to Core Web Vitals, and then this report will show you your mobile and desktop pages that are performing poorly, need improvement, or are good in terms of your core web vitals. So you can, if you go to the mobile report, click Open Report, click on these boxes to see the ones that need improvement and the ones that are good. Scroll down to the details section and it'll show you the groups of pages that need improvements and what core web vital needs to be improved. I'm not going to spend too much more time going through this because there's a lot. This could be a guide in itself, but this is where you want to go to start troubleshooting and finding solutions for any core web vital issues on your website. Alternatively, you can use Google PageSpeed Insights to do this. What I just showed you on Google Search Console, this is based on real-world field data. So this is actually users that go to your website, and this data is from the Chrome User Experience Report. So if you have access to this data, it's more valuable. So that's the data that's in Google Search Console. If you don't have access to this, you can use Google's PageSpeed Insights, which will give you lab data for your core web vitals. It's not as important as real-world data, but it still works quite as well or quite good for troubleshooting core web vital issues. So I'll drop a link to Google PageSpeed Insights in the description below the video. The next item in your page experience check is to check for your mobile friendliness. So once again, in Google Search Console, click on Mobile Usability, and then click on these two boxes to show your pages that have errors or that are valid in terms of mobile usability. Scroll down to the details section and Google Search Console will tell you what pages on your website have issues or are not mobile friendly, as well as the ones that are mobile friendly. In my case, all pages are mobile friendly, which is awesome. You can click on that and it'll show you all the pages. Otherwise, you can use Google's mobile friendly test. I'll drop this link in the description below the video. And what you can do is enter your website, click test URL, once the tool is done, you can see if it's deemed mobile friendly in the eyes of Google, and it'll give you some more details on the page as well if you scroll down. The next item in the page experience checks is to check that your site is using the HTTPS protocol or the secured protocol. So to do this, just type in your domain, hit enter. If it resolves to the secured version, so the HTTPS version, then you know your site is successfully secured. And then the last item is to check that your site is not using intrusive interstitials. So these are aggressive pop-ups that cover key content or information on your pages. So really, you can just use a manual check. Go through your site and make sure no annoying pop-ups pop up when you're browsing through your site. That's pretty obvious. You'll know if you have those. Although disclaimers such as cookie usage information or age-sensitive content does not apply here. Essentially, you just want to make sure that any pop-ups don't cover the entire screen, as that's very frustrating to users, and Google doesn't want to take users to pages that use these aggressive pop-ups like ads or other things that are going to annoy users and inhibit the user experience. The ninth item is to perform keyword research for your website. So keyword research is going to help align your site's content with what your target audience is searching for at a difficulty that you're actually able to compete with. Now, I'm not going to go into all the details of this. I have a couple guides already that tell you how to do keyword research, and I also have a guide that shows you how to use my free keyword research template to do keyword research with. I will drop that in the link. I will drop the link in the description below the video, which shows you how to get there and how to do that. I also have a guide that helps you perform a SERP analysis, which helps you with keyword research, and then how you can map your target keywords from keyword research to your site's pages. So I'll drop all three of those links in the description below this video, and that should help you with all your keyword research needs. The 10th item is to check the formatting of your existing URLs. So URL formatting is all about making URLs easy to read and to understand. This is good for users as well as it's good for search engines. And essentially, the URLs that you choose, you want to give context to your users and to search engines what the page is about. So for example, if we look here, a page on my website that talks about keyword mapping. I have the URL slug as keyword-mapping. Now that's very clean, it's very easy to read, it's easy to understand. Hey, if you click on this link, you know what the page is about. It's about keyword mapping. That's what you want to do with your URLs. You know, make sure you don't have a lot of numbers or weird characters in your URLs, and you want to make sure that you're using undercase characters and that they are all spaced out with the dash symbol. Not underscores, don't combine the words together. You just want them to be nice and clean and easy to understand. So to check for your existing URLs, an easy way to do this is to use Screaming Frog, crawl your website. Then you want to go to the URL tab. And then you can apply any of these filters to see if there's any errors in any of your URLs that Screaming Frog detects. So here on the right-hand window, you can see I have 192 URLs. And if you look through all these different filters, right now, Screaming Frog is telling me that there are no URLs that have any of these errors or warnings. So that's a good thing. So what I would do is just go through these and make sure you don't have any errors or warnings that Screaming Frog is telling you about. If you do, chances are there's nothing you can really do for an existing URL because you would have to redirect it to a new one. So in most cases, you don't want to do this. Just use this as a guideline for all the URLs that you create going forward. If you meet the criteria that I talked about and make them clean and easy to read, that is good for your users and good for search engines. The 11th item is to check your title tags and meta descriptions of your pages. So title tags are an HTML tag that is found in your page's head tag, and the title helps give your users and search engines information about what your page is about. This is commonly known as the clickable blue link in a search engine results page. And then your meta description is also it's not an official HTML tag, but it is code that you add to the head page or the head section of your page, and that's the little snippet that's shown underneath the title tag in a Google SERP. So title tags are really important because they are a minor ranking factor, and they also can help increase your click-through rate on a Google search engine results page, which is an indirect ranking factor. Meta descriptions are also really important. They are not a direct ranking factor, but they do also influence click-through rate. So these are both very important on-page SEO elements, and they help improve your on-page SEO. So in order to check your site's existing title tags and meta descriptions, you can use Screaming Frog again, use the page titles tab, as well as the meta description tab. And what you want to do is you just want to go through these filters and look at any errors or warnings that Screaming Frog is giving you. Whether or not you have missing title tags, duplicate, they're over the character limit, they're below the character limit. There's a lot of them. I'm not going to go through explain all of these, but you just want to go through and understand if you have any errors or warnings, A, fix them, or B, if there's a certain case why it is this way and it's justified, that's okay. But then you also want to do that for the meta description, go through the filters and make sure you clear up as many of these errors or warnings as possible. Biggest thing for your title tags is make sure that you have a unique title tag for every important page on your website. Try and get it below the character limit. Same with meta descriptions. Make sure you have a unique meta description for all important pages and that they meet the character limits. Meta descriptions aren't as important as title tags because a lot of times Google ends up rewriting your meta description based on the user's query anyways. But if you don't have an extremely large site, make sure you have unique meta descriptions for every important page on your website. The 12th item is to check that your site has a site favicon. A site favicon is a small logo that appears on the left-hand side of your browser tab. So if you go to my website, seofrank.com, you'll see in the left-hand side of the browser tab, there is my site favicon. In WordPress, a site favicon is referred to as a site icon, so it's the same thing. Really, you want your site to be using a favicon, and the reasons are it helps promote brand awareness and recognition. It helps with your page's click-through rate because Google displays these in mobile search engine results pages. It really shows off your brand identity or your brand logo. A lot of times if users have multiple tabs open in their browser, it helps them navigate more easily back to your tab or your page. So bottom line, make sure you're using one and that it's sized properly. Your content management system will help you upload one, and depending on if you use WordPress or Squarespace or another one, you can upload one with your content management system. I will drop a link in the description below the video telling you some guidelines that Google has for site favicons, which is how the formats you should upload them in and the size ranges. So I'll drop that in the description because that'll help you with your site favicon. The 13th item is to check for heading tags on your site's pages. So heading tags are the H1, H2, H3, all the way down to H6 headings that you can use on your pages. They're HTML tags, and really what they're used for is to break your page into headings and subheadings. So your H1 is the main heading of your page, H2s are subheadings, H3s are subheadings of H2s. So on and so forth. Hopefully that makes sense. Imagine like you're writing an article or a book or a report. You have one H1, and then anytime there's a new section or a subheading in that report or in that book, you want to break each subsequent subsection into H2s, and then if there's any subsections in the H2 sections, you want to break those into subheadings. So to check for these, you can use Screaming Frog. After you crawl your site, go to the H1 tab. This will show you all your page's H1 tags. If you scroll over, you can see these are the H1 tags that are being used on these existing pages. If you click on H2, it also tells you all your H2s, and you may have multiple H2s on pages, which is okay. So it'll only show you the first two H2s. Remember, you only want one H1 per page, and you can have multiple H2s, H3s, H4s, H5s, or H6s on your page. Now, unfortunately, Screaming Frog will only show you H1s and H2s. If you want to find H3s to H6s, you can use the SEO Quake browser extension. So the biggest thing here, like I said, you just want to make sure that you have one H1 per page, which is the main heading of your page, and then use H2s like subsections of your page. So use it to break up the content into different sections, and then use H3s as subsections of the H2s. A big problem is that a lot of people use H1s and H2s to style the headings of their pages. That's not what they're used for. They're used to tell search engines and users, and especially users with screen readers, that the H1 is the main topic of the page, H2s are the subtopics. So really you should be using CSS to style your headings differently. Don't solely use H1s, H2s, and H3s for stylistic purposes. Make sure you're using them to break up the content and the sections on your page. It just helps organize your pages a lot better. The 14th item is check for structured data. Structured data, or sometimes referred to as schema, is a type of code that can be added to the HTML of your pages, and what it does is it provides additional information to search engines about that page, and it also makes certain pages eligible for displaying rich results in a Google SERP. So what is a rich result? Rich results are special features that can be displayed in a Google SERP. So let me show you an example. If we Google how to make homemade pizza, this right here, this is recipe structured data, and this results in these rich results. So in order for these to be displayed in this search engine results page, all these pages had to use schema markup to get this. These review stars, these are also a type of schema or structured data. And structured data is important because it leads to, like I said, rich results, and rich results can increase your click-through rate. There's a lot of different types of structured data that you can implement depending on what type of page your page is. So I'm going to drop a link in the description below this video for the complete list of, or the complete list that Google recognizes in terms of structured data. So you can take a look there and help make decisions on whether or not that may apply to your page or not. So in order to check if your site is currently using any structured data, you can use Google Search Console. So navigate over to your Google Search Console property, scroll down and look under the Enhancements tab. If you have anything that comes up under here, this means that you are currently using some sort of structured data on your website. So for my website, I'm using a bunch of different ones: breadcrumbs, facts, how-to, site links, videos. There's a lot of different ones you can use. And really, if you click on any of these, Google Search Console will show you the pages that are valid, show you if there's any warnings. You can scroll down to the details section, click on the warning or the pages that are valid, and it'll show you the exact pages where there may be some issues. So I can see here I might have some warnings that I might need to take care of. So really, you can do this for any enhancements you have. Now, if you look in your Google Search Console and see that you have nothing under the enhancements section, that means you currently don't have any structured data implemented. So how can you go about doing this? I recommend using a tool called Merkle's Schema Markup Generator. So I'll drop a link in the description below this video on where you can access that. So once you navigate over to the page, you can just click this drop-down menu and choose which schema type you want. So let's say I want to do some how-to schema. So click on that. And then what this tool is going to do is tell you all the inputs that are required. So fill out each applicable section. And then once you're done that, you can click on copy. And what that will do is this tool will generate the HTML code in JSON-LD format, which is Google's preferred format. You can copy it, and then what you want to do is you want to paste that code in the back end of your page, so into the HTML. Once you do that, then you're going to want to use Google's rich results test to test that it's been implemented correctly. So I'll drop a link to that in the bottom of this video as well. So let's navigate over to that page, the Google's rich results page. What you can do is you can either input the code that you just put into your web page in the HTML section, or you can type in a URL. So for example, let's check out one of my pages, my keyword research template page. Once the test is done, it'll tell you if it has detected any valid items, and success. My page has a couple of valid items on it. I use article schema as well as video schema. So you can click on any tests that has been detected by the tool, and the test will give you additional information on what has been used in terms of structured data on the page. Then what you want to do is periodically go back and check your Google Search Console property, look under the enhancement section, and make sure that everything is valid. And if there's any errors that come up, you can check that. You can check the enhancement section and check the errors box, and Google Search Console will let you know if there's any errors with any of your structured data implementation. Number 15 is content and user experience. You want your content to be relevant, you want to satisfy search intent, it needs to be unique, valuable, and linkable. So these are all things that are tough to judge. It's you versus your competitors. So really the best way to do this is complete a competitive SERP analysis for your content versus the other pages that you're ranking against in Google, and you got to make your content better than what's already there. Have unique angles, be more relevant than what's there, and satisfy search intent better than what is currently on Google. Now that's a tough thing to do. It's not an easy thing to do, but really as long as you're giving your users what they want and more, that's table stakes at this point in this day and age in Google. But something you can do to judge the quality of some of your existing content is to use Screaming Frog. You can use the Content tab, and then you can go look at content with, or pages with low content. Look at that, and this will show you the word count of existing pages on your site that is deemed to have low content. Now, Some pages on your site will have low content, like for example, a contact page, about us page, but really make sure that any important blog posts, any service pages, product pages, very important pages on your website, make sure they don't have a low word count. If they do, that's probably a sign it's not providing a lot of value to your users. And if you use a competitive analysis, that's a great way to find out how you can add more relevant items to that page to help boost that word count and be more valuable to your target audience as well. Performing keyword research obviously helps with this immensely. The 16th item is image and video checks. So first, let's start with your images. So to do an audit on the existing images on your website, use Screamin' Frog, go to the Image tab, and then go to the Filter, and then you can filter any images on your website that are over 100 kilobytes. So that means that these likely need to be compressed. Any that have missing alt text, and these last two, missing alt attribute or alt text over 100 characters, those are more just warnings, but the biggest ones are images that are too big or images that have missing alt text. Now, just because it's coming up in Screaming Frog and that it's over 100 kilobytes doesn't necessarily mean that your image hasn't been compressed. But what you want to do, make sure that you're doing, is before you upload all your images into your content management system, make sure that you are compressing them. So in order to do this, there's a free tool called TinyPNG. I'll drop that in the description below the video. You can use that to compress all your images, and it's free and you can do images in bulk. For alt text, you want to make sure that you're using descriptive alt text for all your images. It helps with accessibility and it's good for SEO image search. So that's a necessity these days, and you should be doing it for all your images. For any videos you use on your website, the biggest things are, one, you want to try and host them on a public page that can be indexed by search engines. So I'm talking about YouTube, Vimeo, Facebook. Make sure that page is indexable, and all YouTube videos, Vimeo, most Facebook videos will be indexable. Then if you embed the video on your page, you want to use an appropriate HTML tag, such as the video tag, the embed tag, iframe, or the object tag. Typically, your content management system will already set you up to be able to do this automatically. Number 3, if you have lots of videos on your site, consider using a video sitemap to Google. Number 4, use video structured data, because this is going to help Google figure out what your video is about. And also make sure, the last item, number 5, make sure that videos don't negatively impact your page load speed. If this is the case, use image placeholders and try to avoid videos that are above the page fold. The 17th and last item in our SEO audit checklist is to check your backlinks. Now this is referring to all the links that are pointing back to your website from an external website. So an easy way to check your backlink profile is to use Google Search Console. So scroll down and click on links, and then you'll see under this external links column your top linked pages, as well as your top linking sites. So these are sites that are linking to your site, as well as the top anchor text that's being used for those links. Now what I would suggest doing is click the Export Internal Links button. So then you'll see options for more sample links or latest links. I would recommend just clicking on latest links. This will show you the latest links that Google has most recently crawled and found that is pointing back to your site. So click on that, and then you can choose the format you want to export this file in. Once that's uploaded, you'll then have a spreadsheet of all the pages that link back to your website, as well as the last crawl date. And what you want to do with this list is you want to go through it, spend some time. If you have a long list, it may take a lot of time. But to evaluate your backlink profile, you want to look for backlinks that are low quality, come from non-topically relevant sites, may contain spammy anchor text. And if you think that any of these may have been obtained by black hat SEO tactics, you may want to consider disavowing them with Google's disavow tool. I would recommend not doing this unless you're certain that it was used with a black hat SEO tactic, and it will probably result in a manual penalty for your site. If not, I would just ignore any spammy links that are pointing back to your page. Spammy links are part of any website's backlink profile, and it's something you just can't avoid. Google's gotten really good today at just ignoring these backlinks, so 99.9% of the time they will ignore them. The biggest thing here is you just want to understand your backlink profile and see who is linking to you, and if there is anything that's spammy, like I said, you can most likely ignore it unless you think that you're going to get a manual penalty because of it. But if you do find some backlinks that are pointing to your site that are good and not spammy, then maybe that gives you more of a game plan going forward as to sites that you maybe want to contact in the future for some future backlinks. And that can help you with a backlink campaign in the future. If you want access to my free SEO audit checklist in either Google Sheets or Excel formats so that you can record and track each of these 17 steps, go visit my blog post. I will drop the link in the description below the video. In this video, we've covered how to conduct an SEO audit using my 17-point SEO audit checklist. We've covered important technical, on-page, and off-page elements that will help keep your website improving in organic search. If you found this video useful, hit the thumbs up button below as it helps me keep my channel going. If you want to get updates from me, go ahead and subscribe to my channel so you don't miss out on any of my free templates and guides. Leave a comment below in the comments section if you have any questions. Thanks for watching.